We have a fantastic guest to start the show, and he is brand new, not to football, because he is a lifelong footballer, but he is brand new to ESPN 1000. It is a pleasure to have him on our air now from noon to 2 every single day. He's been doing the Rich Eisen show for many years. He's been the face of the NFL Network, as you know, Waddle, for many years, and he has joined us even inside these studios. Before. It's been a while. We welcome Rich Eisen back to the Waddle and Silvy show on the Yingling guest hotline. Rich, how are you feeling?
Well, how are you guys doing?
We feel great having you on, Rich. We're a little bit, I'm not going to lie, we're a little down about what our football team is doing at this point, but
0-2 will do that. 0-2 will do that, and it's great to be on in Chicago. You know, I went to grad school at Northwestern, lived in Chicago for almost a year, and love it every single time I go back. And the sports fans in Chicago are second to none. And I'm just jacked to be on and chatting with you guys. You know how I feel about you guys.
And it's been great. And the show, the evolution of your show and how it started as a podcast, and then it became the television show. And now you go back to Disney, which is such a good story. Here's my question for you, because as I listen every day, the celebrity guests that you have on are outstanding. When did you know, Rich, was there a moment or a singular guest that you had on when you're like, okay, I'm doing a football show, I'm doing a sports show, but now this is crossing over where not only the guests are happy to be on, but it seems like they want to be on. That's the feeling I get when I listen to you with some of these really famous guys, that they really want to be on your show. Was there a breaking through moment with a singular guest that you remember when that happened?
I don't know if there was like a breakout moment and that sort of thing, but I just always was betting on the fact that, you know, sports is part of pop culture, and pop culture, if you look at it like a wheel, one of the spokes is sports. You know, not like I reinvented the wheel or anything like that, but just being at all these, you know, with NFL Network, fortunate enough to be at all these Super Bowls, and just noticing that, you know, the halftime show, like the biggest, you know, sporting event that we export to the planet, and that we all stop our lives to take in America, is stopped in the middle for a rock concert, and nobody bats an eye at it. Right. As a matter of fact, that sometimes engenders more talk than the game itself the next day. And so why not do a show like that? Why not do a show where, the spine may be sports, but really it's pop culture, and, you know, the rest of the organs around it are sports. And to try and do something like that. So that was the idea from years ago.
Rich, who's the smartest? He's got the most football smarts of the non-football crowd that actually joins your show regularly.
I would go Eric Stonestreet of Kansas City Chiefs and Modern Family fame.
Yeah.
He knows ball. Like, you know, he has pictures of himself with John Alt, you know, Joe's dad back in the day. Like, he goes way back on it. All the Kansas City guys, Rudd, Stonestreet, you know, and Rob Riggle, they're all diehard Chiefs fans. They are locked in. You know, obviously Jeff Garland, who you guys probably know very well, being a diehard Bears fan, gotten to know him through Curb Your Enthusiasm from back in the day. He's a frequent guest. Talking ball with him has always been a lot of fun. So yeah, but that's kind of what I love to do is, if there's a celebrity guest who wants to come on and talk ball, they'd rather do that than try and come up with a witty answer to some sort of pre-interviewed question. And of course, if there's somebody who's not into sports, it's been, you know, early years, it was definitely a struggle to get them booked. Because I don't know if you guys ever remember the movie Diner. I might be dating myself, but there's a scene in Diner where, you know, they're all Baltimore Colts fans back in the 50s, and one guy refused to get married to somebody unless she passed a test on the Colts. And some of the celebrity guests feel like I'm going to have them on to just test them on their knowledge of the 4-3 defense, and they're afraid of or concerned that they might come across as a non-sports fan to a sports audience. And I'll just talk movies and pop culture, TV shows, music, books with them. And it's been, now we're celebrating our 11th year. Our 11-year anniversary is coming up in 3 weeks. And it's been a blast, and it's a blessing that it's something like this that brought me back to my roots. My first 7 years on ESPN, never thought I'd ever be back there doing a sports center like I did in August. And so it's just been awesome. And certainly for the team that's stuck with throughout. I've got some people who go back to my podcast days at NFL Network. I've got some people who are day one show co-workers when it was owned by DirecTV, and people who have stuck with me when I gained ownership of the show out of the blue in late 2019 and worked and stuck with the program through a pandemic and many other different iterations. And it's just been it's been great for everybody here on the show. It really has.
Rich, how do you feel about that before we get into the Bears? But how do you feel about the movie reference stuff that you just brought up a reference from Diner, an old school movie? We have a young producer in his 20s. Carmen and Yurko talk about this with their producers as well about they're appalled when like a young producer has not seen one of the old school classic movies. How do you feel? Like, it seems like too you've got some young guys on your crew as well. So how do you enforce that? Is that something that you're like, look, they're young, I didn't watch old movies
Mandatory
either?
viewing.
What a great way to describe enforce. No, I don't enforce, but we have fun. I mean, like, again, one of the things that my show we're constantly doing, as soon as the show is over, we review what we've just done. The show gets chopped up into various segments for our YouTube consumers. And then we have our social media producer, a guy named Jake Culp, who works for a company called Be Known, run by a guy named Brandon Kaminsky, who used to work at ESPN. But Jake, a number of times, like, we had Seinfeld on, and we had to update him on what we're talking about, about The Sea Was Angry, My Friends, or there are 90s movies where we have to stop and go, do you know what we're talking about? And he'll go, no. And we all look at each other like, damn, we are old. But that's just the way it goes. And so, that said, we do chop everything up for Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, and we just try to meet the audience where they're consuming, which is frequently in the palm of their hands through their phone. So we're just trying to stay current. But my philosophy is, if you're watching a show or listening to one, obviously on stations like this one, with my name on it, if I'm interested in it and I'm passionate about it, then perhaps you'll be interested in what I'm talking about, even if you're not familiar with it. And that's just been my philosophy. And as long as I'm not, coming across as a know-it-all, that potentially you'll come along for the ride. That's my philosophy.
And I think what you guys do best is you don't have interviews. You have conversations. You visit with people. And that, to me, is what makes it such a listenable, exercise for sure.
Thanks. I mean that. I appreciate that. That's the best compliment you could pay. And we work hard at it, and I work hard at it. We watched some, like today, it's the 35th anniversary of Goodfellas. So we went into the archives during a commercial break on our Disney Plus and ESPN app feed. We'll just sometimes pop some archive material. We popped a 2015 interview with Ray Liotta up, where he ripped the Goodfellas poster that I had on my wall in the green room, autographed by him, De Niro, Pesci, and Scorsese, that I got at a golf tournament in 2000, and he ripped it off the wall to say his autograph was fake. Somebody faked it. Yeah, which totally threw me for a loop, because I bought that at a silent auction for a chunk of change, and he's saying his autograph was fake. And that was a fun segment. And subsequently, we've had De Niro on the show on a Zoom, and I held up his autograph to him to ask him if it was real or fake, and he thought it was fake as well. And I've literally sent the poster to him through QC, and it's been a few weeks. I actually need to figure out where we are on that. But anyway, the reason why I bring it up to you now is my interviewing style back in 2015. It kind of makes me cringe, because I wasn't listening. Like, that's the key. And you guys are great at this too, is you listen, you listen to a response instead of going to what you automatically think your next question should be. And that's been the toughest thing, is to listen in an interview. It's the greatest skill for any good interviewer. And I try to get better at it every day. And the thing I also love about radio, and I do hope that your listeners who are potentially listening to my show as well call in, because that's the difference. I mean, you guys do TV too, and Tom, you and I go way back in the day to the network days, being young, right?
Yep.
And it's television always is trying to break that fourth wall and connect with a viewer. And sometimes, back in the day, let's read a tweet from somebody and answer their tweet that's 9 hours old and is suddenly about a topic that's dated. Radio, you talk to somebody, you talk to a human. They say what's on their minds, and you can mix it up, which kind of gets back to my stand-up comedy days that I did in Michigan. I love mixing it up. And, when you're sitting there, like, say, on a set on NFL game day morning, as I'm going to be doing this Sunday on NFL Network, I'm just sitting there talking to my guys on the air and wondering what a fan is thinking. But through a radio show, like, nothing beats it. Nothing beats looking at a phone line, seeing it lit up, answering questions, or trying to help somebody. I had somebody call from the state of Michigan today saying that they're going to be in a dunk tank over the weekend, and what advice do I have to talk smack to people before they try to dunk them in the tank? You can't make that up. And I love it. I can't get enough of it. It really does get me out of bed and excited to come to work every day, is to talk to people, and that's radio. Nothing beats the medium. Nothing.
Yeah, that's great stuff there. Rich Eisen joining us. It's Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. So we have some stars coming to town here, Rich, for the game. I don't know if you heard, Waddle and I with Deion Miller, we do the Bears pregame show now, and I do the halftime show. So Brady's doing the game, and Jerry, and if I could do the Micah, which is outstanding. And who do you think we would have more joy meeting? If we ran into Jerry Jones at Soldier Field, or if we ran into Tom Brady at Soldier?
I mean, Tom Brady. I mean, obviously I'm a Michigan man, so I might be biased, but all I know is if you do run into Tom, you won't have let's put it this way, you won't have the same issue with Jerry as you run into Tom, which is, honestly, you can get lost talking to Tom Brady, and I'm not lying. I remember the first time I interviewed him was years ago for my show, and it was just a televised podcast on NFL Network. And I'll be honest with you, man, I wore my best suit because I knew I was going to have a two-shot with Tom Brady, and that's a tough two-shot for any other human being. And that's why I think Burkhardt has got a tough job, not just calling the game, but that two-shot for him, it can't look good. So, and I was wearing my best suit, and it looked like I was wearing a burlap sack, man. Yeah. And he's taller than you think, and plus, I mean, he's the GOAT. I mean, he's as great as
in so many ways.
Oh my God! So yeah, very much so. So I would go with Brady for sure. Meeting him on the field, I would seek him out. That's the one.
I got to just real quick. I have to confirm that from my perspective as well. I met him in the early 2000s. He came off an elevator. I was there. My father-in-law was doing the Patriots games, and they were playing down in Champaign because the stadium was being, whatever the case may be. So I was having Tom autograph a football for me. He came off the elevator, and I was speechless. Maybe the most strikingly handsome person I've ever seen in my life. And there's nothing I could say to him at that time.
That's right. Yeah, then he's taller than you think. And like, especially, the way he dresses on top of it. Like, if I were him next time he's in the Raiders booth, like, he should go full on Bobby Valentine or Connor Stallions on the sideline of a Central Michigan game, but he was wearing a suit and tie. Like, that alone will make you stand out. Yeah. But Tom Brady's sitting there, like, that popped off the screen with him sitting in a suit in the coach's box on Monday night. So yeah, I mean, that's how I would answer that question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? Like, Ben Johnson was asked, I'm sure you heard it, and both times he dismissed it. He's like, look, I'm in full coach speak mode. I know better. I'm not going to share stuff. He can look at the tape and he can see what we're doing. So the Bears, obviously, he's got them this weekend, and then the Bears play the Raiders next weekend. So do you have an issue with this, or at the very least?
Look,
go ahead.
Tape, like obviously, looking at tape is one thing, and being in person might be another. I don't know. I'm not an all 22 guy. The thing that surprises me about it is that NFL owners don't have a problem with it, and they are one of the most paranoid group of people you'll ever meet. Honestly, the one, like, if this is crazy that the Raiders are involved, because if Mark Davis's dad was alive and this was a situation that involved the Raiders on the other end of it, Al Davis would be going nuts. Yeah. Literally, when I was but we were in a different era, maybe. Like I called Rams Cardinals for NFL Network last year. I was at the Rams practice facility. It's kind of makeshift right now because they're creating their own new one here. Hopefully open soon for them. And the practice field is surrounded by all of these apartment buildings and office buildings. And I thought to myself, like, if Al Davis were around, he would be wondering which landlord of one of these buildings was a Charger fan to, like, lease it out to the Chargers so they could look into their practice field from, like, a third-story window. Like, that's the way the NFL always used to be. So I'm kind of surprised, like, owners would be cool with it. Not like Tom is doing anything with it to give anybody an advantage, because he can look at stuff on tape. It's just he. And if you're the Raiders, why wouldn't you pick Tom Brady's brain? It's literally one of the greatest advanced scouts in the history of the NFL, in terms of his ability to take things in. But you see this stuff on tape anyway. The eye in the sky truly does not lie. So I don't know what to make of it. And in broadcast meetings that I've been in, the quarterbacks are way more open and telling other analysts who might be former quarterbacks themselves stuff that is anything remotely close to tea spilling than coaches. I've never heard a coach spill much tea ever in those meetings.
Hey, Rich, is the game as healthy as it's ever been, and what's the next horizon? Like, you were in Brazil for the opening game, with the Chiefs and the Chargers. It was a Friday game. What's the next page or the next step or the next, chapter for the NFL, in your opinion?
I mean, what, a Michigan Avenue parade? Is that the way I should say it?
We wish one day, Rich, from your lips.
Please.
From your lips.
Please.
I mean, I guess maybe more international games, to sell a package of international games to a new partner. Maybe, I guess. I other than that, more technology to be used in the sport. I think that's where it goes. Because everything else has kind of been a box checked right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't know anything other than that. It was great in Brazil, an incredible experience, and all of these international games feel like Super Bowls. They really do. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance, and the fans are out of their skulls. They're just one great electric crowd after another, and none better than Munich. Few years ago, the first game ever played there when Brady was with the Bucs against Seattle and Pete Carroll. Both those guys went to the podium afterwards, said it feels like a Super Bowl, and obviously they would know that, having played in one against one another, quite famously. I would think maybe more international games to put together. We're close. I mean, we're getting 3 weeks in a row, coming up 4 weeks in a row. One in Ireland and then 3 in London. That's a full month of early window football from across the seas. The Vikings are the first team coming up to ever play back-to-back weeks in different countries. That's the first, where they're going to play in Ireland against the Steelers and the next week against the Browns in Tottenham. And then the 2 weeks after that, I'll be calling those games in London between the Jets and Broncos and Rams and Jaguars. That one's in Wembley because the Jaguars are owned by Shad Khan, who, believe it or not, owns Wembley. So there's that, and then there's one in Berlin back-to-back in Spain. So we're halfway home. Like, I mean, that's 6 games, and you continue to find other spots in Europe, and you can suddenly get maybe 10 early window football games to have 4 windows of football. I don't think many fans would push back against that.
Rich, before we let you go, we're talking to Rich Eisen. It's Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. The Caleb Williams conversation. I mean, this seems to be a very popular one, obviously, here in town, and it's a popular one nationally. Where are you on Caleb these days?
I think he's supremely talented, and it's only a matter of time. I really feel that. And it's like year after year, you're trying to, the organizations that do two things are the winningest ones, the ones that stay consistent, the ones that don't have movement in front offices or coaching staffs. Obviously, those are the ones that are more successful than not. And the other ones are the ones who place the smartest bets with what they do with their roster and coaching staffs. And, I think Ryan Poles has made some smart bets on the roster, and they made a smart bet, I think, with Ben Johnson. And we'll see how it works out. I mean, Ben does appear to be the guy that you want to hook somebody like Caleb up to. Normally, year two, quarterback is already advanced in terms of knowing what to watch on film and other things like pre-snap operations. And it appears last year turned into a lost season for Caleb on that, which is unfortunate. And so you're kind of starting behind the eight ball in a way on that front. And so this is a big game, I would say, this weekend with Dallas coming in, to say the least. And I know some Bears fans that are being patient. And I also know a couple Bears fans, including my call screener, who feels that the Bears are two more losses away from saying, screw it, let's Bryce Young this guy and put Agent in and see what he can do. I think that would be highly provocative. Don't forget when Carolina did what they did with Bryce Young, the only reason why he got back in there is because Andy Dalton got into this unfortunate car accident that forced him out. And they put Bryce back in, and then clearly it worked, giving him a sabbatical. I think that would be radical. But some patience is needed. Last year, like I said, with the exception of the London game I called, where Caleb had 4 touchdowns, and then the next game against Washington, where he came up with a stone's fourth quarter drive, only to be wiped out by that awful Hail Mary finish. He seems to have had a bit of a lost season, other than the fact of taking a complete beating and saying nothing publicly about everything that Seth Wickersham revealed in his book about not wanting to go to Chicago and having almost every concern of his realized in the first year. And he said nothing. You got to give it up for that, too. So I think he's got some gumption and some talent that requires more patience than I think Bears fans might be willing to afford, which is a problem.
It's well said. Very good. Rich, we appreciate the time. We're so glad to have you on our radio station. Your show is outstanding, and we hope to do this again, okay?
Thanks, Rich.
You got it. I'm happy to do it as much as you like, and love being on ESPN 1000. Love being on in Chicago as a Northwestern graduate from grad school, and a guy who used to be phoning in high school scores on a payphone from Wheeling while I was in Northwestern.
That's right.
I feel like I've got some DNA in the Chicagoland area.
You
know
do.
what I mean?
That's awesome. It's so good.